Joined this week by Big Bad. Their debut album comes out this week. The CD release show is going to be at Can's Deli on Saturday, August 18th. They'll be joined by locals, Hermana, and also a couple of out-of-town bands. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the long journey they've taken to get here as they release their new album. It's What We Have to Do, and we can do it together. With that, we send it over to Studio 2A. Here's Big Bad.
1, 2, 3, go! Don't tell me you miss me, 'cause it's over. I'm trying to sleep through the night. Let me be alone now in the darkness. You never were much of a light.
If you're up late wondering and you don't know why, when I'm up late I'm wondering how you don't know why.
Don't tell me you miss me.
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 Tell me your favorite Kid Dynamite song. Say SOS, we'll be singing along. Long to the sound of something. Only thing left that means more than nothing.
Tell me your favorite Kid Dynamite song. If it's SOS, we'll be singing along. Gone to the side of something. Only thing left that means more than nothing.
Tell me your favorite Kid Dynamite song. If it's SOS, I'll be singing along. Long to the sound of something. Only thing left that means more than nothing. More than nothing. More than nothing. You miss me. More than nothing. You miss me.
let me go away. You always let me go away. Why can't you make me stay? 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 Sometimes I'm sad. I seem to turn a dark and red. It's always bad timing to you.
Can you stay to the veins for me? I have the blood that clots the arteries. When I get stuck waiting for you.
You always let me go away. You always let me go away. Why can't you make me stay? Why can't you make me stay? Why can't you make me stay? Why can't you make me stay?
She took a walk with me by the graveyard, said I can live my life how I like. But you're still gonna end up here like the rest. I got the dancing in the night. She took a walk with me by the graveyard, said I can live my life how I like. But you're still gonna end up here like the rest. I got the dancing in the night. I figured it out. You don't care about me, you don't care about my whereabouts. I'm getting closer to the plan where I understand what you're thinking about. It's you. I got a therapy. You're better than I don't care who you'd rather see. 'Cause you're not talking to me.
Well, I'm letting it out. That I still care about you, your whereabouts. I'm getting close to the day where I finally say what I'm thinking about. You. Don't go to the mall.
therapy.
It's between us and now I hate to talk or I feel 'cause you're not talking to me.
Whoa, so I'm going to the mall.
therapy.
There's a space between us and now I ain't cryptography. 'Cause you're not talking to me.
You're tuned in to 91.3 KXCI Tucson. This is Locals Only. My name is Matt Milner, and I'm live in Studio 2A with Big Bad. Friends, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
So let's go around and introduce yourselves, and someone can introduce Keith for him, because I don't know if he has a mic. Oh, he does. Never mind. We'll start with you.
Drums.
I'm Logan. I'm playing bass.
My name is Alex, and I'm playing guitar.
My name is Tim. I'm playing guitar.
My name is Caitlin. I'm keyboards and vocals.
All right. So this is a very exciting week for this group, but I don't want to start with this week. I want to start with the beginning, because it's been a sort of a long journey to get to this point. So let's go back to the beginning. What was the origin story of Big Bad?
We started about 5 years ago. We had all played in other bands and such, and it was just sort of a moment where a bunch of other things we had were falling apart. Alex and I had played in something together, and Logan and I had played in something else together, and Logan and Keith had played in something together, and we had a lot of different bands that had all ended, and I think Alex in particular.
I mean, we have Redbeard right here
Yeah.
as the backup band.
Alex in particular had been talking to me about starting something new, and then a friend of ours that used to live here, Whitney, wanted to do something, and we thought about asking Caitlin, and
Hi,
then,
Whitney.
And then slowly Keith, and Logan replaced Whitney. Yeah, it's been a long journey.
Over here.
So you're here, yeah. So at how long ago was that? About 5 years? Was that the beginning?
Around there, yeah.
Yeah. And we're now at the point this week where you're going to be releasing debut full-length album. But I'm always curious when an album has been in gestation for a long time to think about, like, to go back to the beginning of when you started thinking about working on an album, how the vision that you had ended up being true to the final product that is going to be in people's hands this week, and how over the course of recording this it kind of turned into something different, or the band turned into something different, as the case may be.
I think that the final product is pretty close to what we had always wanted and pictured. I think that the reasons that recording the full length took a long time had less to do with our ideas changing and what we wanted changing, and more to do with just our lives outside the band changing a lot. We frequently refer to the fact, just with each other, of that, you know, over the course of this band existing, like 2 people have gotten married. Not like 2 people in the entire world. 2 people in this band have gotten married.
Not to each other either.
Yeah, not to each other. 2 different people have gotten married. Pretty much all of us in this time have found like our like solid career paths. We've all started like more serious careers than when the band started, or at least progressed further along than where we were. So I think it's more just a function of our lives getting a lot busier and a lot different. Yeah. That's what the album's about. So it's fitting that, you know, it's just we all grew up a lot and had less time.
I even think it turned out better than I kind of anticipated it to turn out, especially because we started it so long ago. It was hard to do, because if we did it all in one chunk, we would have known exactly what it would sound like.
Yeah.
So since we really weren't sure in the whole process, we recorded it 1 month, and then months later did a different part of the recording, and then months later did a different part, and it like took a while. So hearing the final masters and hearing the actual album was really surprising. I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is really good.
Was there something that was sort of liberating about, like, the fact that because you were tracking it over such a long period of time, that there wasn't the pressure to just like, all right, we just have to get it out now? Like, once you've taken a couple of years to work on it, did you feel like, well, we might as well get it right, even if it takes a few more months?
I think it was Logan was the one who just really wanted to push it. Like,
Well-
we finally got it. Let's just get it going.
Yeah, well, in the recording process, there were a lot of things we redid and went over. Like, I did the bass all one way, and then we decided to change it, redo the bass. I know Caitlin redid a bunch of vocals.
We did a lot of vocals.
So we did a bit of that. But after a while, there becomes this point
Let's
of being
just
like,
get it out there.
well, how much more can we really put into this? Like, you know, point of diminishing return on that.
Yeah. How, if at all, was the process of recording this different than for other projects that you're in or have been in?
I mean, we've all recorded a lot of stuff. It's tough to say. I guess that I don't think any of us have ever spent this long on an album. I think we can safely say that about all of us. Logan and I have recorded a full length in a weekend before, and this we recorded in 2 years. So,
and I've released a couple things since we started working on it. So that's like,
It's been really productive.
You both started other bands and released albums. Within that time period
yeah.
it's
I've released
happening.
other things in the time that we've been recording this, but
but
I still wouldn't change a thing because I'm really happy with what we have.
Sure.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, like, we were all friends separately from a band. We didn't become friends because we joined the band together. Like, we were all friends outside of the band beforehand. So for us, it's just like kind of also a culmination of our friendship. And if it takes longer, it's not like a big deal to necessarily one of us or anything like that.
Yeah, I think we were one of the cases of, rather than like being a band and becoming friends, like we started a band so we could spend more time together because we're friends.
Right. I'm also interested in the decision to actually release a CD, which I will say is becoming increasingly rare. So maybe Logan wants to take this one.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
I run Diet Pop Records, which has primarily released CDs, and that's mostly, well, one, we're kind of a punk band, and I still think CDs, because they're so cheap and still the most accessible as far as like if you can get access to one pretty easily, not too expensively, especially. So I think CDs are still pretty punk. That's what I think. But no one agrees with me, so that's fine. You know, it's just, it's so much cheaper than a tape, and it's just insanely cheaper than a vinyl.
Right.
So that's like a big part of it. Also, if we want to actually get this out, vinyls would take like 6 months from now or never. Who knows? So at least with this, we know it's coming.
And speaking on behalf of the radio broadcast industry, I appreciate when people still have CDs because that's what I play here.
Yep.
So that's great. But one thing that's, and obviously, Logan, you've got a lot of experience with this, in putting other people's music out and your own as well, is that, there's still something to be said for the physical product as well and for putting thought and care into that. So tell us a little bit about the physical package itself and the art.
Yeah, no, it was really cool, the process, because once we decided we wanted to get it out, then we needed to get all that stuff together, and that could have been really rushed and really bad, but it turned out really, really great. We had Brianna Grenier take photos, and then we had my partner Sophie McTeer do the layout, and they didn't even know each other, and they both talked about it to each other afterwards about how great each part of that turned out, and they were really excited about it. And for us, it just looks beautiful. It's everything we could have wanted in the design.
It's much better than the album itself. It's really, it looks awesome, and I wanted to put out something that looks awesome. We were having a conversation last week about how still most of my most nostalgic music consumption memories are related to CDs and sitting on the floor of our family home and
don't reveal these secrets.
Looking at liner notes and looking at CDs and physical packaging and just loving that format. And so it's exciting that we've put out CDs before that weren't exactly the way I wanted it, and the layout of this, I love it. I really love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So listen to it first, and then look at it so you don't get your expectations too high.
That's safe. Play it safe.
Yeah.
Play it safe.
All right, so we're going to get into our next set here, and as a reminder, Big Bad's album release is going to be Saturday, August 18th at Cannes. We'll talk more about that show, the other bands on the bill, and more about their journey to get here during our next break. But let's get back into the music with Big Bad.
Turn on the hallway light, see what's left, and use the light tonight. I'm alone in your
Say something about me, I bet you leave me in the
alone in your
Consolation, I'll be here hanging from the gallows.
alone in your
Say something about me, I bet you leave me in the shadows.
Consolation, I'll be here hanging from the gallows.
Try not to make a fuss.
Listen to your rants about the
City bus.
alone in your
Say something about me, I bet you leave me in the
alone
shadows.
in your
Consolation, I'll be here hanging from the
alone
gallows.
in your
Say something about me, I bet you leave me in the shadows.
Consolation, I'll be here hanging from the gallows.
I know you called two guys tonight. I was two, he was one, he was first, I was last. I'll wait here on my own.
I'm alone in your room, we're all waiting for you to get out of your head to get into this world.
No, you called two guys tonight. I was two, he was one, he was first, I was last. I'll wait here on my own.
I'm alone in your room, we're all waiting for you to get out of your head to get into this world. dancing with our lives like we're cats on a wire, and we're testing out the tide while we're juggling knives.
You're underneath my skin, needles carving you in. Now I'm sweating through the layers and I'm soaked in my sins.
Your smile's fading in the cold. You lack the strength to feel, to hold.
But I can see you come alive when you're dressed to the nines. Pretend we're just at the beginning of the movies I like. And I'll get to you someday, and I'll
get to you someday, and I'll
get to you someday, and
I'll get to you someday.
One, two, three, four. Words you said to me, those words you said to me, those words you said to me, to me.
If I'm standing in the corner, feeling useless, feeling older, want a new life, I wanna feel good, I can do that with you.
I've heard the answer is expensive and the treatment is excessive. I want a new life, I wanna feel good, I can do that with you.
Sick of standing in the corner, feeling useless, feeling older. Want a new life, I wanna feel good, I can do that with you.
Sorry, I can't read.
Think this over. What's the reason that you're waking up?
I spend my nights by the phone, all alone, thinking what do I do to make
You're tuned in to 91.3 KXCI Tucson. This is Locals Only. I'm here with Big Bad Live in Studio 2A. Thanks again for coming down tonight, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's awesome to be here.
So, one thing we talked about during our last break was the fact that for many of you, you played in other projects together before in different combinations. But, Caitlin, I'm curious to hear about your experience coming into the band all those years ago and what your experience was back then, kind of integrating and talking about your own musical background before this, because this wasn't the first time you played music, but it was a different experience. So tell us about your experience with that.
Yeah, well, Tim and Whitney were instrumental in getting me to join the band. I never thought I would be in a band. I think Whitney heard me sing once when we were teenagers. We did a we did a video together of No Scrubs, and
Do we still have this video? I didn't know this existed.
I think it's on Facebook, but I deleted my Facebook, so sorry, it's no longer available, but conveniently. So I had never really considered being in a band, and I was very shy the first time we ever played. If you guys remember, I played behind a PA the whole time, so nobody could see me.
I do, yeah.
I've gotten a lot more comfortable, and going back to the friendship thing, these are the only people I would have ever joined a band with. It was it really worked out, and I'm very grateful for. They've just been really nurturing for me. This little introvert coming out of her shell. But it's one of the best things that I do, and going to practice and playing shows is one of the happiest parts of my life, and it's just really enjoyable. I've known Alex and Keith separately for 15 years now.
Yeah.
Logan
back in the
at least
scrappy
10
days.
or 12. Tim 10. Yeah, so we all go way back.
Yeah.
And, the other thing that I wanted to touch on that we kind of moved past as we were talking about recording before is we didn't really talk about how you recorded it. And Keith, I'd love to hear about what the experience was from your perspective as someone who was wearing a couple different hats over the course of this process. So tell us about that.
We recorded the drums in one day. So I had to set up all my recording gear and my drums in Tim's house, and rush to the end. We probably started at 8 a.m. and ended at 7 p.m. So that was like rushed, and then everything else, like Logan was saying, was just like slow going.
And about the setup.
Hard to
Hurry up and
get
slow
everybody
down.
together. So
Yeah.
it was fun. It was a lot of fun just hanging out with friends.
And speaking of kind of hanging out with friends, over the course of the recording process, both during tracking and then also during mixing and mastering, who were all of the cooks who were in the kitchen and helping to get to the final point?
I recorded it, and that day, our friend Daniel Barnard helped us with setting up mics and recording and stuff. And then Ryan Bram at Home Wrecker mixed it and mastered it, right? Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we kept it close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, having been through this process before, though, with other bands, were there specific things that you talked about either at the beginning or as you were transitioning into mixing and mastering that you wanted to try to capture? The records that you liked the sound of that you were trying to recapture, or was it more just kind of a general idea of what you were trying to accomplish?
I think for me, the main goal, and maybe we took it too far, was that we'd be able to take our time. That, like, every other thing I'd ever recorded before felt really rushed, and like we were trying to meet some sort of deadline or something like that. And with this, we didn't have any sort of deadline or anything. And so for me, I think that was the thing that definitely approaching it, I was excited about, that we'd get to do everything the way we wanted to do it and take our time. And then we went a little too far with that.
Capitalized on it.
And let's talk a little bit about this weekend. So the release is going to be Saturday at Cans. And what do you have in store?
Yeah, so it's going to be 4 bands this Saturday at Cans Deli on 4th. And we're going to be headlining because we're releasing an album.
Yeah.
And people have been waiting for it for years, literal years. But the two of the other bands, part of the reason why it ended up being this night is because 2 bands that I'm really close to and I have released on the same label, and they're also amazing bands. One's called Sorrytown, who recently relocated to Nashville, and then Medvedi, who's from El Paso, who Tim and I have been playing shows with some of the members of that band since we started playing shows together. And so that's been over 10 years. And so, yeah, it's kind of it's good to know that those people, I know them already, and they're going to come, and they're really, really great bands. So that's like the big, reason I wanted to combine those events is because of how great they are. Plus, then our friends Hermana are going to be playing, and they're just awesome. And they just released an album as well. So that's like a cool kind of culmination. They haven't really played much since they released it either.
Yeah, we're really excited to have them. Herman is without a doubt my favorite local band. I love Herman. I love the new album. I think it's awesome. And Emery's other band, Dirt Friends, Big Bad, played their second show, I think. So I feel like Emery and I have talked a lot. There's some like band kinship there, I guess, with with his stuff and our stuff. And there's no one but Hermana that I'd want to play.
So if people don't make it out on Saturday, what are the other ways for them to be able to obtain the music in the future?
Well,
and then we're talking about people who like live in Alaska.
Yeah.
It's a difficult journey to make for a weekend.
We got a big following in Anchorage, so it's good that you brought that up.
Yeah.
There's the dietpoprecords.com, so you can order a physical album through that, and that'll be up this week as the album's getting up. And then it'll be on all the streaming platforms like the Spotify's and all that. And then, I don't know, one of the most direct ways is just through our Bandcamp, which is bigbadaz.bandcamp.com.
Yes, it is.
So that's like you can listen to it, you could order a digital copy, or you could order a physical copy, all from right there. Otherwise, like I said, Diet Pop Records is the other place to get a physical copy, and Spotify will be up as soon as the album is released.
Excellent. Yeah. Before we get into our next set, the last thing I was curious about was, given that the band has existed for a long time, I'm always intrigued as you're putting the album together and you've had 5 years of band life to draw on, if as you were selecting the tracks that you wanted to put on the album, if you felt like the fact that you had 5 years of history and catalog and all of that to draw on, did that make it easier to cull a sort of greatest hits of the songs that you really thought were worthy of recording and surviving in this form? Or, if anything, did it make it harder because there were tougher choices to make?
We had talked about at one point that we were going to record everything that we had, and then, if there were songs that we didn't like, how they turned out, or just didn't really seem to fit with the album, that we might cut some things. And then we didn't end up doing that. We just liked how everything turned out. Felt like everything worked well as an album, so it's 13 songs long, but we play short songs, so it's it's like not even a half hour long. So that was initially part of the conversation, that we'd put it all out there and maybe cut some things if they didn't really fit, but then just ended up liking everything, and so went with it. But we're already kind of moving on. Like, we're playing a couple new songs tonight that aren't on the album, and having fun with new songs too.
Cool. All right, so we're going to get back into the music here with Big Bad here on Locals Only. The album release show is going to be Saturday, August 18th at Cans Deli. Here's more from Big Bad.
Hiding every inch along the ride home, dreading every silent moment. There's too much to say. The melody you sing when you say no, so I'm waiting on the rest, 'cause there's too much to say. I know I'm turning yellow at the end.
One more night to
be alone with myself for too long. I'll be shouting at the monitor, drown yourself in a song.
I had a summer with a certain kind of sadness. All I needed was a touch, and we left to explode.
You're all I needed
I
to
put my hands before it's the sunrise. You put my heart whenever you lie. I hope you always try to never feel the eye.
You made me wait until sunrise. You made me wait all your life. You made me wait until sunrise.
Every letter that I never sent, every word of every letter that I
You made
never
me wait all
every
your
word of every
life.
letter that I never sent, every word of every letter that I
I play my heart
before it's the sunrise.
You play my heart
Whenever you lie, I hope you always regret it. You never look me in the eye. One, two, three, four.
Broke your heart on Labor Day. Not wearing white so you can't see through.
What I do when I'm not with you.
I thought we'd both be okay.
You think I'm alone, but you don't know.
I thought we'd both be okay.
You think I'm alone, but you don't
In
know.
early fall, I feel a chill if I felt at all.
Left your jacket at my house last winter. Put it off till summer.
In an early fall, I feel a chill if I felt at all.
Left your jacket at my house last winter. Put it off till summer.
Broke your heart on Labor Day. I'm not wearing white so you can't see through.
What I do when I'm not with you. And
I thought we'd both be okay.
you think I'm alone, but you don't know.
I thought we'd both be okay.
You think I'm alone, but you don't know.
In an early fall, I feel a chill if I felt at all.
Left your jacket at my house last winter. Put it off till summer.
In an early fall, I feel a chill if I felt at all.
Left your jacket at my house last winter. Put it off till summer.
In an early fall, I feel a chill if I felt at all.
Left your jacket at my house last winter. Put it off till summer.
In an early fall, I feel a chill if I felt at all.
Left your jacket at my house last winter. Put it off till summer.
You're tuned into Locals Only. This is Big Bad live in Studio 2A. The album comes out on Saturday at Can's Deli. Will be the album release show. So we've talked about the music on the album. We've talked about the art of the album. But what we haven't talked about is the name of the album and its relationship to the name of the band as well. So we're going to do some deep Buffy dive here. And let's talk about both the where you came up with the name for the group and how that led you even indirectly to the album.
When we came up with the band name, very early stages, like I think a couple people in the room might not have even been in the band yet, but I specifically remember that when we settled on the name, we were at the EG's at Speedway in Tucson. I could tell you, we could go on a field trip together. I could show you which booth we were in. It's on the Speedway side. It's towards the middle. I was with Caitlin and Whitney, and we had talked about a few things, but I had suggested Big Bad, all three of us, like Buffy, and it's a Buffy reference that's, I don't know, I guess it's like subtle enough that it's not like we're called Buffy, but like I think you could enjoy the name if you know nothing about Buffy, but if you know Buffy, then you get like a little extra kick out of it, and I think that we liked that sweet spot of that it's not a name that's like so referential that you can't enjoy it if you don't get the reference. But if you do, you get like a little extra bonus.
Has Joss Whedon been to that EG's?
Yes.
Yeah, that same booth,
yeah,
right?
he works
I'm
at that
pretty sure.
EG's. Yeah, he works the drive-through on Saturday nights. Yeah.
Okay, so then how did that indirectly lead to the name of the album?
Well, so in turn, also like struggling to name the album, we're looking for ideas and stuff. Definitely, the idea wasn't like to specifically pick something that was another Buffy reference. That definitely wasn't like the conversation or the original idea. It was more just that we were trying to find a name that fit sort of the journey that the album is supposed to depict and the journey that we've been on, our sort of passage from our kind of early mid-20s into our 30s, and the amount of like growing up that we've done over the course of being in this band and writing these songs and such. And all the songs in some way are kind of about that period in life and the amount of growing up that happens in that period and sort of finding yourself. And so the idea of something that was tied to a quote and a show that was very much about coming of age felt like it really fit. And on top of that, the notion that it had this kind of camaraderie to it, that it's a quote that is happening in a moment of camaraderie and being a part of the group and such. So it just seemed like a fit, I guess.
Yeah, it's what we have to do, and we can do it together. The name of the new album from Big Bad coming out this weekend, Can's Deli, is the release show. So before we go into our last set of music, I think that you touched on the sort of a communal aspect of the band. That's something that I really appreciate about it, but it's also in that last set was a good example of it. One thing I've always enjoyed about the band as well is that there's a democratic approach to singing as well, and you'll often have 4 vocal mics across the front of the stage, and you all have pretty distinct voices that you bring to the group as well. And I'm just curious, as singers, as songwriters, whatever angle you want to take it from, is that one of the things that makes this group fun to play in and to write for?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, gang vocals are always the best.
Yeah.
We all get to sing together, and you can hear everybody. But then, like, the cool thing about this project, as opposed to just a band that has background vocals, is that we all take turns singing lead at different points, and we all overlap on top of each other at different points. So that's more than just gang vocals, which makes it really cool and fun for me.
Yeah, and for me as a songwriter, I've enjoyed that aspect a lot. And if you kind of lay out all the songs in like chronological order, I would like to think that like you would see that I've gotten better and better at knowing everyone's voice and writing parts that work for everyone, and writing parts that where the voices work together well. And I think our last set will like be an interesting representation of that in a way, in that we're going to play one song that's kind of, I would say, like right in the early middle stage of our career, that was like the one song that's the one that I sing the most, my little moment to shine. But then we're going to end with our newest song that's not on the album, in which I'm not sure if I sing a single word, so it's changed a bit, and it's not ever a decision about I want to write a song that I don't sing on. It's more just that writing a song is like, okay, this would work really well for Caitlin, and this would work well for Logan, and this would work best for Alex, and I don't fit in on this one, and that's fine. So I think that's happened a lot as we've gotten better at writing our songs and such, that I think I've just gotten better at selecting that of like, this would be great for Caitlin, and it's fine if I don't have a part, and it's fine if Alex doesn't. And then on the next song, maybe the opposite.
Yeah, and I joined the band a bit later than everybody else because our close friend Whitney ended up moving away, and so I joined the band because I was a fan of the band beforehand, because like all my friends were in it, and I'm like, this band's so cool. And to touch on what Caitlin was talking about earlier about her being pretty shy a lot of the time in the beginning, like her vocal parts, your vocal parts, Caitlin, like have come like so far, and it's so cool to see for me, like, because I'm still a fan of the band even though I'm like in it. So it's like really cool to see your voice just like open up, and like it's really great that we all get to like harmonize and play that way. So
Those harmonies. Those are great.
They're
Logan.
beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, they are.
Has Big Bad ever practiced anywhere but my mom's music room?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the answer is no.
Yeah,
So
no.
that's one of the things that not to like get too far behind the curtain at this point in the interview. We've kept it together pretty well so far. But no, but I mean, I will say as an outsider, I think that the community spirit that you've talked about over the course of the interview and that the album helps to represent, I really love the fact that this is a band of, people in their late 20s into 30s, but that now, for 5 years, you've all like gathered together every once in a while at our childhood home with our dog sitting on the lawn and, sodas in the fridge and all of that. And there's like I think there's something that sort of beautifully captures some of the non-linear way in which we mature and age, and that there are aspects of our lives that can stay sort of frozen in time, even as we're growing and maturing around that. So that's really more of a comment than a question.
You're that guy at like a
book festival.
at a book festival talk.
Yeah.
More a comment than a question.
Yeah.
Really, and talk
Yeah.
for like 8 minutes.
no, but even we most of us don't live anywhere near that house.
Yeah.
And so even
It's
if we
really inconvenient.
yeah, it's pretty inconvenient,
Oh, yeah,
especially for
right.
Caitlin. So
Like
like
50-minute
I
drive.
love where it is personally.
So worth it.
and so even if we had somewhere better or closer, like we couldn't practice anywhere else because your mom's like our biggest fan.
Yeah.
So
She's a fantastic host.
that's
too.
just we can't do that to her. So
Yeah, and I mean what you pinpointed, about like the reasons that we practice there and this, the feelings that it sort of evokes. I would like to think that when you listen to the album, if you sit down with a pair of headphones and you listen to the lyrics, that you get a lot of that from it. A lot of those sort of adulthood transitions where you're trying to hold on to a piece of your childhood, a piece of suburbia, a piece of all of that. I'd like to think that that's sort of imbued throughout the album.
All right, so we're going to hear our last set here from Big Bad. I want to thank you all for coming down.
Thanks,
This
Matt.
was
Thank you
really
so
fun.
much.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks
Yeah.
to everyone that's helping out.
thanks, KXCI.
So Big Bad performing Saturday at Cannes. Here is their last set.
Every man's got a Maria, and lately I've been feeling like a Tony on ice skate too.
Act like you did 5 years ago. Act like you did 2 years ago.
Every man's got a Maria. Dear Maria, I wrote this letter to tell you I hate the way I feel. When you jump ship, I tell my anchor to your heart, I won't want you to sink anymore. Every man's got an Estella, and lately I've been feeling like a pip out of option two.
Act like you did 5 years ago. Act like you did 2 years ago.
Every man's got an Estella. Dear Estella, I wrote this letter to tell you I hate the way I feel. You jump ship, I tell my anchor to your heart, I won't want you to sink anymore.
Dear Tam.
writing actual letters. I'd like to see you get yourself together. Dear Tim, literal allusions won't make it better. You're better off writing actual letters. I'd like to see you get yourself together.
Dear no one, I wrote this letter to tell you I hate the way I feel. You just sit, I dumb anchor to your heart. I won't want to think anymore. She's not coming home tonight, my friends say.
Hey Tim, will you be alright?
She's not coming home tonight, my friends say.
Hey Tim, will you be alright?
She's not coming home tonight, my friends say.
Hey Tim, will you be alright?
She's not coming home tonight, my friends say.
Hey Tim, you're gonna be alright! Complacency trumps honesty, compromise integrity. I've been trying desperately, but I can't think straight. All of my anxieties clash with your abilities, wrecks my credibility in all my best days. I miss you more than I can say. You're the light in my life when I'm a bad day. I miss you more than I can say. You're the light in my life. I'm a bad day. What's to blame for this inequity? Alcohol or chemistry? My overwhelming pleasantries and all of me is dead weight. You told me they wrote a song. I wrote you a better one. Take your place is everyone. You're bound to my fate. I miss you more than I can say. You're the light in my life. I'm a bad day. I miss you more than I can say. You're the light in my life. I'm a bad day. I miss you more than I can say. You're the light in my life, and I'm a bad day. I miss you more than I can say. You're the light in my life. I'm a bad day.
You've been listening to Big Bad here on Locals Only, live in Studio 2A. Once again, the album comes out this weekend, Saturday, August 18th, at Can's Deli, released by Diet Pop Records and available where records are sold.
At Sam Goody.
Don't forget that if you didn't catch all of this performance, or if you just liked it so much that you have to listen to it again, head to KXCI.org. In the next few days, we'll have a streaming link up for this performance. If you head to the KXCI YouTube page over the coming days, we'll have footage from this performance as well, thanks to our friends from
forgot
Creative
about that.
I
Tucson.
didn't know we were filmed.
Well,
Yeah.
you were. That's
get
what all
real
these lights
awkward.
are for. So, in any event, you and the band can watch it as well, Alex. Now that you know that you were filmed, you can go and watch it.
The cameras were a giveaway. I
Yeah,
thought about
that
as
you
well.
should have known.
I think we even talked about it.
You know, I like Ignore it.
forgot. I knew at one point, but I forgot.
In
Watch
any
us.
event, so thanks again for everybody for listening. Thanks to our friends at Creative Tucson for helping to bring us the video, and thanks to also our friends at Radio Phoenix who rebroadcast this on Wednesday nights as well. With that, we're ready to wrap things up and send it over to the scratching post. Have a great evening, everybody.